Hey friends, Diana here from Garden Love. As you guys know, if you guys saw that video when I planted this little pomegranate tree, I talked about how I faced all the branches going west, east, the sun comes out, and this side gets most of the sun. Technically you want most of your branches on both sides, but since I know this side of the tree is not going to be getting as much sun, it's not going to encourage the tree to throw out branches that way, and I want them to go that way. I put most of the branches on that side and kept most of the bare side on this side, which means that it's going to get sunburn. Have you guys ever been to the beach and you guys sit out there and it's cold and it's cloudy and somehow you manage to get sunburn? Well, the trees also get sunburn sitting in the sun in the winter. So I'm going to protect this with some Ivy organic paint. Some of my trees already have it, and it's been long overdue project that we need to take care of. So now that I put this tree and most of its trunk is bare and it's showing the east side of my property, it's going to get sunburned, so I want to make sure that I protect it. The fun thing about this paint is that it's organic, and it also protects against insects and rodent, which is, you guys know I have rodents here. I have squirrels and bunnies and deers, and I want to make sure that I can do anything to discourage the rodents from them actually eating my trees. In this case, the main thing I'm doing is protecting it from the sun, so that's the reason why we're painting. Lily is over here helping us paint this tree. Let's go ahead and get started so we can protect the tree against the sun, especially since it's pretty hot up here. It gets a lot of sun throughout the day, and I want to make sure that it gets some protection. Alright friends, so I couldn't find my brush, but I did find some of these. These work just fine, and I already mixed in the whole product so that way it's ready to go. I do have a video that I did a couple years ago on how to mix it. If you guys want to know what comes into this product, is just basically some powder in a bowl with some essential oils that smell delicious. And I really like the smell of this product, but it's been a minute. You guys know that I'm behind my projects. This is something that I do to all my fruit trees, including everything that's growing in containers, because, you know, even when I lived in my other property where I did not have that many rodents to worry about, I did worry about sunburn. I didn't want my tree to get damaged, and this is what I'm concerned about with this tree. Pomegranates, I don't think the deers really like it. I haven't seen any damage on the pomegranate that I have on my property from bunnies or any of the squirrels. I haven't seen much damage from it, so I don't think that pomegranates get affected a lot by the rodents. But I do want to protect this young tree from sunburn. I want to make sure that it doesn't get any damage and that we set it up for success. I want to make sure that everything that's facing east, that it gets encouraged to grow some new branches. That way this tree can be well-rounded, branched all around. And some of these branches here have the benefit of the shade from the other branches. So my biggest concern really is the trunk, that it's going to be exposed, and winter is coming. Some of this is going to get, well, the whole tree is going to be bare without any leaves. So at that time, maybe I'll come back and protect the bigger branches from the sun, since it is going to be sitting in full sun. Even though it's going to be cold, I still want to protect this tree. Now there's a lot of other trees that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to bring you guys along so you guys can see how this paint can benefit the tree. There is some trees that got already some damage. I'm going to show you guys. The damage is pretty severe, but I have faith that with this product, and I know for a fact because I already put it to test. Let's go over there so I can show you instead of telling you. Really quick, I want to show you how the tree came out with paint. It smells wonderful, and now it's protected from the sun. Alright friends, this is the other tree I wanted to show you guys. As you guys can see, the whole top layer of this trunk has been devoured by a deer, and today we are going to cover it up so it can start to heal, and also to prevent deers from coming back into this tree and continue to eat it up. So like I mentioned before, this is going to seal the skin of the tree and prevent any critters from them going into the tree, and also prevent any future attacks from deers. And there was like a big gulp of powder at the bottom, so I added water. It's kind of diluted, but it still does its job. When I redo another can, which will be tomorrow, that way I have more time to paint some more trees, I will come back and repaint it. But for now, this is a good start. It's going to create a seal for this tree and prevent any future damage. Alright friends, as you guys can see, here's my key lime that I put in the ground at the beginning of the spring. As you guys can see, it already has some whitewash paint, and let me show you guys. Let me get up close so you guys can see. You guys see all the cracks? That's the growth that the tree has had. So I want to cover this trunk to ensure that it's being protected from, like I said, sunburn, rodents, insects, and I want this tree to continue to grow and thrive. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Super easy, friends. Look at that. Very important that you guys do this to your trees, because it will help tremendously, especially like right here. There's like an open little wound from a branch that I cut. This is a tree that taught me a lot about knowing how trees grow in their nature. You can't expect something from a tree that is not in their nature to do. Let me tell you guys a little bit about that. I had an idea that I wanted my tree to grow like a lollipop style. Ooh, hummingbird's right above my head. I call him my friend because he visits me every time I walk in my garden. I really hope that I can record him one day so you guys can see him. I'm pretty sure he's sitting in the branch right above this tree. He always seems to be sitting on. Anyways, I had an idea that I wanted to have this tree grow like a lollipop, and you know, a long tall trunk and just a hedge of a head, a round hedge. And I kept trimming it. You can see the cuttings here that I kept taking the branches off. If you guys can see right here, you guys can see right here, I just kept cutting it, thinking like, no, I'm gonna train it to do what I needed to do. And come to realize that some trees are just not meant to grow a certain way. Some trees are meant to grow their own way, and this happens to be an example. Key lime, this specific tree likes growing as a bush, so it grows branches, tall long branches from its trunk. And I didn't realize that till I nearly almost killed this tree. So in the past, I used IB Organic to help it heal from all the cuttings, and as you guys can see, this tree is definitely recovering. It's getting bushy again, and it's producing tons of fruit. So here we are, protecting it from the sun, from the insects, especially all these little wounds that I have here from all the cuttings that I thought I was training the tree, and I was not. But I live and learn. Now I know that this Mexican key lime is meant to grow as a bushy tree, not like a lollipop. And when I tell you lollipop, I'll go and show you a different tree that's growing like a lollipop, and you guys will see a tree that you can train versus a tree that you cannot train. You see how these branches are going? See if you guys can see. See how this branch is coming out of the trunk and growing upwards, upright, really long and tall. Well, that's the nature of this tree. It grows upwards. So if you wanted it to get bushy like I thought I could do, you would need it to go outwards. So that's how you know you can train a tree to do what I thought I wanted it to do. So let's move on to another tree. I think this tree is pretty protected from sunburn. Look at that trunk. Doesn't it look beautiful? Pretty good. Maybe I'll do some touch-ups right here where there's some cuttings. See where there's cuttings just to seal those holes. This paint also helps with that. It helps seal. Oh, let me see. I'm getting a little stuck over here. It helps seal some of the cuttings so that way no bugs get in and no infection goes in. Some of this dead wood, it's getting dry because of the sunburn. It's exposed. So that's what I'm trying to protect this tree from. Look at that. This is a nice trunk. See that? Here we go. This is still getting some sun here. Protect it. When I find cuttings, like little knots of from a cutting, I want to make sure that I get some of that paint in there. Look at that. Tell there's a cutting there. Look at that. That's a perfect example right there. You want to make sure that you seal it with this paint so nothing goes in there. Nothing starts living in there, eating the tree away. Look at that. See that? You want to make sure that you cover that. Friends, here's a baby loquat, a seedling that I decided just to stick in the ground. I'm going to cover it with some Ivy Organic, especially since it's so little and it has no protection at all. I'm going to give it some protection. Here's my other key lime. I'm going to do the same thing. I just planted this tree just a few weeks ago. And as you can tell that it's been painted before.
My calamari tree. You guys know that I just recently planted this tree inside this hillside garden
The same thing as my pomegranate, I want to make sure that it's protected from the sun because this hillside does get tons of sun. So it will be getting a lot of sun during the winter. Even though it's going to be cold, it's still subjected to getting sunburn. So just make sure, don't feel that because it's winter you don't have to protect your trees. Remember, this is not only going to protect it from sunburn, it's going to protect it from many other things that your tree is subjected to. Now I want to go ahead and put a little bit of this product also in my my pineapple guava. And as you can see, this is a tree that's growing as a lollipop. It has a long trunk, and right to the top of the trunk it has like a round bushy hedge that's growing. And this tree tends to grow the branches outwards instead of upwards. So now I know that this tree, I can trim all the branches that are growing in the trunk and just focus on letting it grow on the upper parts of the tree. Well friends, now I want to show you my amazing loquat tree. Look at this beauty. You guys know how excited I was to put this in the tree. It's my ultimate favorite tree. The fruit, I absolutely love it. And I'm just happy to have this in the ground. As you can see, I'm going to protect it with Ivy Organic for several reasons. When I first planted this tree, I actually noticed that the very first or second day that it was in the ground, the deer started to munch on the leaves. So they love the leaves of this tree. At first I didn't mind it because since the tree had just been transplanted, a little trim and some leaves taken off the tree would actually give the tree some relief, because it will start focusing on the roots and only maintaining some leaves. So I didn't have a problem with that, but after a while I did notice that they just kept eating the leaves, and some of these branches were bare without any leaves, which means that they did not have any sun protection, like no canopy, no shade from the leaves. So I did started noticing some sun damage on these branches, and it's because it didn't have any leaves. So Ivy Organic product is going to help these branches not only protect them from the sun, but help them heal from the sunburn. Also, not only is it going to do those two wonderful things, it's going to prevent the deers from coming back and chewing up the tree, because they do not like the smell of this wonderful Ivy Organic. It smells like lavender. I personally like the smell, but the deers do not. I tested this theory in the past. I sprayed the leaves with the Ivy Organic spray and they stopped eating it, but as soon as it kind of wore off, they came back. So I'm hoping that now that I have the paint, that is going to prevent them from eating this tree again. So here we are painting it. I'm going to try to get every little branch, every little tip of branch, every little leaf that I can expose it to this product to prevent the deers from continuing to munch on this tree. I'm curious to hear from you guys. Have you guys used this product? Is my first question. Have you guys used anything else? How are you guys protecting your trees from sunburns, critters, deers, bunnies? How are you guys protecting your trees? Have you even heard about this product? I also want to hear that. And are you protecting your trees at all? If you haven't, I'm really glad that you guys are watching this video and you guys are getting an opportunity to understand it. Sometimes the trees need a little bit more care than just putting them in the ground. There's some things that, some chores that we have to do on a yearly basis to ensure that our trees continue to grow and thrive. I'm sure at some point our trees are going to be so big, they're going to be, with all the care that you give them throughout the years and their younger years, that they're just going to be thriving. They're not going to need much from you. They're not going to need tons of water. They're not going to need tons of fertilizer. I guess you can say the trees are kind of like kids. At first, they need you a whole lot to protect them and guide them. And then eventually, they don't need you all that much. They can go off into the world and just do their thing. While I was painting, my chickens decided to give me a visit, and they were wondering what I was doing. Maybe they liked the smell, but they were just, hanging out with me. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what they're doing and what they look like. Look at Tarragon. Seems to be very curious with the camera, so she decided to come and inspect what was going on. She is like the mother of the chickens. She is a bossy lady and always wants her way. This is my rooster, Tennessee,
He used to be a lot sweeter. Now that he's older, he's getting a little bit tougher. He hasn't ever attacked us, but I do see him acting like Mr. Bossman.
Alright guys, so Lily and I just completely covered this jujube tree that's a big ginormous stick all the way to the top. It had major sunburn. The trunk was actually cracking and it wasn't looking good, so I'm glad we're doing this. Let me show you something else. My low quad was actually getting chewed up by the deer, so they took all the green from the pointy parts of the branches, so a lot of these got sunburned because there wasn't any foliage protecting it. As you can tell that it's sprouting back out. I just took the sponge and kind of like painted a little bit of these leaves, because hopefully if they come back they smell all of this and they're like, oh, I don't want to eat that, so they won't chew up on the new foliage that's growing. But there was a lot of like sunburn. As you could tell right here, was getting dark and ugly because there wasn't any foliage protecting the trunk. So I painted most of it as much as I could. Lily's helping me. It's a very delicate job we have to do here to make sure we hit every branch, and we did the best we could. As you can see, I even painted some foliage to help discourage the deer.
The plant should be finished.
Thank you. Alright friends, as you guys can see, this tree has some sunburn for sure. So this is long overdue. This was one of the trees that was here before we bought the property, so it's been here for a minute. Oh, thank you. Lily's going to continue to help me. So we're going to paint this tree to ensure. There's already some damage here from the bunnies going at it from chewing it up. Right here you could tell the damage is there, so I am just going to paint over that, so hopefully it would discourage the bunnies from eating it up. Here Lily, here Lily.
Can you take my brush?
Yeah, here you go.
As you can see, a lot of my trees have all these little tiny branches just kind of broken off, and that's because the bunnies are going to town with my trees. All the leaves are gone from the bottom branches. So I'm going to be doing some trimming later on in the video so you guys can see how I'm cleaning up these trees. But I'm also going to be painting all of the trunk, the lower part, at least the parts that I know the bunnies can reach.
Alright friends, I'm gonna work my way in here. So you guys can see this is all damage from the bunnies. These trees never got the care and paint that they should have gotten, so I am going to protect them from any future damage and actually help heal this damage that these bunnies did. So I'm gonna cover it all up so that way no insects get in there and they don't start eating it from the inside. Look, there's damage down here, and if you guys can see, there was serious damage here, guys. So this is going to help the tree heal, and it's actually going to help it heal, prevent any bugs going into these little crevices from these wounds that the tree has from the bunnies, and hopefully we don't get any future damage. It's kind of hard to get down here because this tree is so massive, and it's massive, guys. Okay, let me move on to the other side. Alright guys, here's the other side. You can see damage right there from previous years. In this tree, I gotta say that the fruit is the most amazing orange I have ever had. So I am gonna do everything in my power to protect this tree from it getting damaged and coming down. So Ivy Organic, thank you for your help. Thank you. I'm pretty sure that after this happens, this tree is not going to get any more rodent damage, and hopefully it can heal from previous damage. I'm sure it will. And hopefully I can clone this tree, because this tree has the most amazing oranges that I've ever tried. They are so tasty. I wish I knew who planted this tree so I could know what kind of tree it was, because I would love to. Oh my god, there's so much damage over here. Let me show you guys. I don't know if you guys can see right there all of this damage that these rodents have done to my pretty little tree. So hopefully this discourages them and it helps the tree heal. In this case, this branch is not getting any sun, so it doesn't need to get protected from sunburn, but it does need to get protection from the rodents, and it does need to get some healing power here. This is kind of like a band-aid. It will protect the tree from it getting anything inside the wounds. It would seal them, and it will allow the tree to grow and, you know, scab up. That way but you know, like our bodies create a scab, that way it can heal. Well, the tree needs to get the same opportunity, but we need to prevent any critters going into these crevices, and we got to make sure that we really get in there. Here's another branch that was damaged. Wow, this tree is quite a fighter. Hopefully the bunnies, I don't think they can reach this high. You never know. I'd rather play it safe than sorry. Because they were able to reach this little branch right here. It has a scab right there. An open wound, I would say. It's not a scab yet. In my opinion, this smells delicious. Oh, here we go. We are almost done with this can. Thankfully I have more, so I'm going to continue to paint the rest of my trees, because I have started to see some sun damage.
Here's my loquat that has definitely seen better days. I recorded a video on how to revive an almost dead tree. For some reason, when I tried to edit it, the footage that I recorded wasn't working. I'm gonna give it another try, but here's the end result. It started sprouting new leaves. As you can see here, the dead wood is still there. I'm leaving it there just until I can tell that it's completely dead and there's no new leaves coming out of them. But as you can see here, it is coming really back with the big comeback, and now I'm going to just seal all these little dead woods so it can continue to thrive. And like I've been mentioning, it's going to protect the wood from a lot of different things. The sunburn is going to prevent any little critters to go inside those little crevices from the wounds to create a little home and maybe start eating up the dead wood. This is actually my Eureka lemon that I air layer from an old neighbor. Isn't it doing amazing? It already has blooms. Super excited, guys. The cool thing about this video and that I'm loving is that you guys are going to get a little glimpse of a lot of my different trees that I have that I'm trying to protect with this IB Organic product. As you can see, I am just spraying any leaves that are down below that the bunnies can reach, because I want to make sure they can stop attacking these trees. These trees were doing amazing when they were in the container, and now they're a little bit sadder than what they used to look, but I think it's because they're exposed to a lot more elements and they're out in the open, and of course the bunnies can reach because they're no longer in a high pot where they're protected from all the little critters that can climb and eat up the low branches. So there's definitely pros and cons about growing fruit trees in containers versus in the ground. A lot of these trees were in containers and they were thriving, looking gorgeous and lush and beautiful. Now they're struggling a little bit, but they will in the long run continue to thrive. Once they get established, they get a good root system. I protect them from any critters. Maybe I'll add a cage to give them extra protection for the lower animals such as the bunnies, and this amazing IV organic spray and paint will protect them against the deers that might want to chew it up. This is my Satsuma as I'm painting it. As you can tell, if you've seen my previous videos, you would see that this amazing little Satsuma was doing a lot better when I had it in a container or in my other property. But you know what? It's a struggle. We're living and learning. Now I know that there's bunnies. I'm gonna give this protection to my trees every year. Maybe I'll do it twice a year, because the trees do end up growing, and it's like your skin ends up stretching, and the product gets, diluted in some way. So I'm gonna have to reapply this product so that way it can continue to be protected, because these are low to the ground. These are more like bush style trees compared to more like a taller style tree. So, and this is convenient for me, so I can have easy access to the fruit that's on the tree. Like I mentioned earlier, some trees are naturally a bush status, or you can train them by trimming them, by beheading them. Some of them you cannot train. Their way of growing is a specific way, and you just kind of have to learn and study the tree a little bit so you know their habits of growing and what you can do and cannot do once you are, have them in your garden or in a container.
Alright friends, here's another example of some damage. See if you guys can see it. There's some right here, some right there. So I know that wasn't there when I planted this tree. That definitely has to be the little rabbits. So alright friends, while I'm at it, I'm going to give my trees a little trim based on all the dead wood. I'm hoping that by spraying all the leaves, that would discourage the bunnies, because the leaves smell bad. This tree has had a lot of damage. This used to be in a container. I don't know if you guys remember. That all the dead wood, so the tree can focus on new leafing. Well friends, as you guys can see, I had a full day full of chores. I wanted to make sure that all the trees that I can get to had some IV organic protection in order for them to get protected from the sun, because even though it's about to get cold, the sun will still get you sunburn. Also, it will protect them from all the bunnies I have on this hillside that tend to hide up in the bushes. Also, it'll be protected from any little critters that might want to make a home in any crevices that these trees with wounds would have. And also the deers that keep coming by my property. As you guys know, they start chewing up on my leaves, and when they start smelling the scents of this wonderful IV organic, to me it smells wonderful, but to them it doesn't smell appealing or tasty. So that's why I sprayed, as you can see, the leaves with some of the paint, and I'm just gonna cut the dead wood so this little tree can go up to a great start. I hope this video was informative, encouraged you to go out there and trim some dead wood from your trees, protect your trees from the sunburn and everything else that I mentioned. Hopefully it gives you some encouragement to get out there and do a little bit of yard work to get closer to preparing your trees and your garden for, having an amazing edible garden. Friends, just like you guys have seen here, I've been taking one step at a time, doing one thing at a time. And as you know, to me, it seems like I'm moving slow, but it's okay. At least I'm getting some progress down, and I hope that you guys are doing the same. Remember, guys, create something beautiful and useful, and you guys have a blessed day. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.